Hey everybody, welcome back to the channel. This is Lisa and you're watching Yogi Hollow Farm, and today we're doing our second video for Feast in a Jar for the collaboration hosted by Janet at Homestead Where You Are. Don't forget, there's a whole other bunch of folks who've been participating all month long, and I'm going to put the information in the description box down below. And don't forget, there's a giveaway on May 6th at 12 noon Pacific time, so make sure to check it out. Today, we're making freeze-dried chicken enchiladas, meal in a jar. Come on along. I am over at my freezer, just took these out, and I'm over at the freeze-drying station. So, over here we have one 19-ounce can of red enchilada sauce, frozen in the tray. I did not measure this, but I did fill it with shredded cheddar cheese and froze this as well. And these two trays are 2 cooked chicken breasts that I baked in the oven from one of the chickens we raise here on the farm. And then I mixed 1 can, which is 19 ounces of enchilada sauce, with the meat. And then all of these were frozen overnight, so I'm going to put these in the freeze dryer. And the reason why I'm doing this is because you cannot mix frozen with unfrozen, which also gives the freeze dryer a break because it'll quickly shift to the drying mode. I'm going to get these loaded. So after it came out of the freeze dryer, I made sure every tray was dry completely through and through. And then you can see here that I'm using gloves. And I am taking the chicken with the enchilada sauce and putting those trays in the jar. Make note that I'm not making it into a powder because that would pulverize the chicken and it would not be shredded like you want for enchiladas. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually filling multiple jars because this was a creation I decided to come up with. But you could easily do this for 1 jar or make several jars at a time. And so now I'm throwing in a little bit of cheese to go with it. And that will be mixed all together when I reconstitute it. Now I'm taking the sauce. And again, since I'm going to make this for you in just a few moments, I just wanted to show you the process. I am chunking up the sauce and putting that in the jar. Now, unlike the chicken, where you want it to maintain that shredded consistency, you could easily use a utensil to push the powder into the jar. And so if you broke it apart into powder versus chunks, it's not an issue. I want the cheese in a separate jar because it's going to go on top of the enchiladas. Now, if I was storing this in my pantry, I'd be putting an oxygen absorber in and I would be vacuum sealing the lid on the mason jar and then removing the ring once that's done. Here I have a jar of the freeze-dried cheese, which I'm going to dump in here. And then over here, I have the freeze-dried enchilada sauce, which will also be for the top of the enchiladas. We'll see how much we need. And then in here, I have some extra freeze-dried cheese, some chicken with the enchilada sauce that was freeze-dried in the jar. I'm going to reconstitute both jars. And make a full tray. So this is all cooked. And I like to add water little by little, so that way it's not waterlogged. And that way we mix in all the cheese with the chicken. So there's the chicken. I'm gonna let that sit a little bit before adding a little more water if needed. I'm gonna add some water to my sauce. And my oven is preheated to 350. I'm gonna add the rest of the sauce and some water. And give that a chance to absorb. And pour some on the cheese. I'm gonna let the cheese sit with a little bit of water. You can see there's really not even enough to cover it, but I'm gonna give it a chance to soak it up and see what it does, and then if it needs more, I will add that in. So the sauce is looking good. It's a little chunkier, so what I'm gonna do is just add a little more water, let it sit. But you don't want it to be too runny. I'm gonna let this sit for 15 minutes and bring you back. Like I said earlier, my oven is preheated to 350. The chicken mixture is all reconstituted. I don't need to add any more water. Ryan came in and tasted it and said you wouldn't have even known it was freeze-dried. Here's my enchilada sauce and my cheese. Obviously, you don't want to use boiling water or really hot water with cheese. I use like room temperature water. And I'll leave that liquid on the bottom. And let's get this put together. What I love about this is how simple it is just spoon some of the mixture in the tortilla. And keep in mind it does have cheese, so it's chicken and cheese along with enchilada sauce. And that's the way we like them. And we're just gonna roll this like so and place it seam down in the tray. So I'm gonna do all that and I'll bring you back. Now that I have my chicken enchiladas all rolled and made, it's made 8 enchiladas. I'm making a big tray of it. I am going to pour my sauce over. Just spread it out over the enchiladas. Again, that's how we like it. If you just want to pour it over and leave it, that is fine. And I'm going to top it with some cheese. And there you have it. Now we just have to cook it until it's heated through and the cheese is melted. And we kind of like it where the cheese gets a little brown. So it's a little more crispy than just melted. And also so the tortillas dry up just a little bit. So I'm gonna put this in the oven and I'm gonna say gauge it on your own time. I'm gonna say a half hour. It may not take that long, but we are at a very high elevation, so it's always hard for me to give cooking times because our cooking times are a lot longer than most people. So you'd have to gauge it by your oven and also by your elevation. Alrighty, it's been about a half hour-ish. And I think it's done. Oh, wow. Where do you see this? This looks so good. So it's good and hot. You can see the cheese melted really nice. We'll let it sit for a minute and we'll get it served up and we'll eat. So I have it all plated up. I was wrong. Ryan was not making guac. He was just cutting up avocado. And he's got some sour cream on it.
Very tasty. Originally, I was skeptical of a lot of these freeze-dried recipes, but this one actually came out very well. Like the Sloppy Joe recipe we did previously. I mean, overall, I'm pretty happy. I was skeptical at first, but this tasted fine once it was rehydrated.
What do you think about the chicken? And the texture.
The texture of the chicken is much like you'd expect from, fresh cooked chicken. Or I was really concerned when we discussed this recipe, but overall it's pretty good.
Cool. There it is, chicken enchiladas and meal in a jar. And the only thing I added was fresh avocado because we had it, and also some tortillas. But let me give you some other ideas to give a spin on this because my husband actually suggested this, and that was pack it with rice and make it into a rice meal, or cook rice and pour it over the rice. with some cheese. And I think that's some really good ideas too. So thanks for watching our videos, and I hope you enjoyed this. And we'll see you on the next one. Take care.